guys, and welcome to round 13 of SRL Season 3 here in Monza, the fastest track on the calendar, and actually surprisingly fun on this game. It really feels very quick as we come down out of the Parabolica, starting our hot lap. There's, I believe, a 46 or 47% chance of rain during this qualifying session, so we need to get the time in. And on the board, our previous time was good enough for provisional pole, but there's always room to improve as we take the first chicane quite nicely, maximise the exit for the long run down to the second chicane through Curva Grande, stick right for the shortest run, make sure we maximise speed, maximise all the gear shifts, etc. Put it down into lean to maximise traction. We are purple, which is good. We brake nice and early to maximise the exit. A slight oversteer, managed to steer clear of the gravel though. Coming through Lesmo, there's a parked Mercedes, but we managed to just about avoid it. Take the first Lesmo nicely, coming to the tricky second Lesmo. Turn in nice and early, run slightly wide, but we're going to get away with it. Open DRS, bit of breathing room before we come down to Ascari under the old circuit. And now, ready for the braking point. Put it into lean to maximise traction. We turned in a bit early, slight cut there, but we keep it on the track on the exit. And now running out of Ascari. There's only 5 minutes left on the clock, but that shouldn't worry us because this lap looks quite good so far. Focusing on Parabolica, probably the trickiest corner on the track. Rain is coming down now. We slightly missed the apex, but get on the pound nice and early. Put it into rich mix, stick right for the shortest run to the line, and it's going to be a 22.9 and good enough for pole position, as rain did come down and no one ended up improving their times, which is excellent. On a good qualifying form at the moment, and our teammate back in third, but this is an incredibly long run down to the first chicane, so grid position you could argue is maybe less important, but obviously at this point I'm not seeing it that way. Pole position's pole position, and we're on 5 red lights, and they're out fairly quickly again, and we seem to get an initial better launch than Boseman, and we're going to give Boseman the slipstream over our teammates, see if we can get him to maintain position. We're going to brake quite conservatively. We've been tapped from behind, which means we kind of have to skip over the second part there, which is not ideal. There's 3 abreast behind as Monza, the very tight turn 1 and 2, probably causing some issues, but it looks like everyone's just about kept their noses clean through there. As we're now coming down to the second chicane, maintaining our position, we cut to lap 3, and we take the second chicane not particularly nicely as we catch the gravel on the exit there, which is very easy to do. Just got sort of a bit weird, just loads of understeer on the second apex there, and ran wide, but that has allowed Boseman back into the DRS of us, which is not good because we had broken that gap. So it's an unforced error really from us there. We're going to stick left to try and get him out of the slipstream, try and take his Ascari reasonably nicely, perfectly on the first part, slightly wide on the second part, and the exit was reasonable, but we're going to have to try and defend down the DRS straight, I reckon, as well, because slipstream and DRS are very powerful here. Coming to Parabolica, put down into third to try and get the back to rotate, and we get a reasonable exit out of there, but I think he might have got a slightly better one. But he will be in DRS, but I doubt he'll be close enough this time. We'll go to the inside, partially to brake slipstream and partially to defend just in case. He does have a lot of overspeed, but he's not going to be able to do anything with it into turn 1. He runs slightly deep. Is he going to get a better exit? And not really, managed to sort of park it, and it looks like we've maintained position. Now onto lap 4. Sorry, lap 5, and it looks like he's going to be in a similar position again, slightly closer this time. We stick to the inside and then move to the outside. He's much later on the brakes, but we just park it and drift across, so there's no chance of him going around the outside, maintaining position into turn 1 again, through the Curva Grande, just making sure we sort of take slightly odd lines to see if we can get him out of the slipstream as we come through the second chicane. We've taken that all wrong, and he came off with much more speed. We squeeze him to the inside and to try and hold it around the outside of the first Lesmo rather, which we do nicely, and maintain that position. Kind of Hakkinen Schumacher 2000 Monza moment there, which was good fun at the time. And now cutting on to lap 6, he is closer than he was previously. We're going to move to the inside once again, with the overspeed. He's later on the brakes once again, and he's managed to hook it around the outside, so we have to give him space on the second apex. We squeeze him slightly so he gets caught on the curb, and therefore a worse run out of that corner, and we maintain our position, but he is closer, so might have to defend into this second chicane, but it doesn't look like it. We brake very late, maybe a little bit too late once again. Have to cut it slightly, and he arrives with much more speed but can't do anything with it this time. We move to the inside slightly unnecessarily through Lesmo 1, get a reasonable exit, and now focus for Lesmo 2, which we take sweetly and maintain the position. Cutting to lap 7, and Boatman is right behind us now. We've got to make sure we get all of these apexes, which we don't really do on the Parabolica there, so we might be a bit closer. But he's got a worse exit than us, which might save us, but he does have DRS and he does have slipstream, so let's see what he can do with that. Sticking firmly to the inside so our attentions are perfectly clear, squeeze him over so there's a car's width, and then he can't do it on the brakes this time. Move back to the outside to maximise the exit, which we do nicely, which is good. All this battling has allowed Jared to close up, which is not so good, but Boatman is right in the slipstream here. We are going to have to defend into the second chicane. He's not going to be quite close enough, and we just squeeze him out again. And he's fallen back. He might have clipped the gravel there, so it's given us a bit of breathing room for a lap or two. Here we go, on to lap 9, and Boatman has slowly been closing us in again. Our tyre wear is not great as ever, but we are going to still try and make a one-stop work here, because I don't think there's really any other choice from what I've heard. We get slightly caught on a scurry there, and we get quite a poor run out of that corner, meaning Boatman's going to be closer than ever. I very much doubt he'll make a move into Parabolica so he gets DRS, which he indeed doesn't. We focus on a reasonably good exit, which has kind of happened, but the team telling us to pit. They wanted me to do a 2-stop on option prime, which is definitely not a good idea, as we are going to defend once again. He's much closer this time. We're not going to be able to do much about it, are we? But we are similar on the brakes. He goes clean around the outside there. We squeeze him into the second apex. We don't get such a good exit. Fairly even Stevens out of that corner. Now we're going to go side by side through Curva Grande. Very respectful, giving each other enough room here. And now we are going to be on the outside for the second chicane, which is not ideal by any stretch of the imagination. We brake incredibly late, too late there, and we cut the chicane to maintain the position, so we're going to let him back through there, because that was not on, and now we're going to try and stick to get DRS into Ascari, see if we can make the move there. Focus on a good exit out of this, which we do kind of, and he's got oversteer on the exit there. We're going to tuck it up the inside, get DRS, which is very powerful, and we slide straight back into the lead. So it was a short-lived stint in the lead there for Boatman, which is good for us, I suppose. With our worst tyre, I think he might have disappeared off into the distance at this phase of the race. And but with all of this defending, we're using a lot of rich mix, and we are on -1 lap of fuel, as you can see there, which is not good, so we might have to do a bit of fuel saving later on into the race. Now into Parabolica, tuck it into the apex, still miss it slightly, and put it into rich mix, and Boatman is going to be very close again. We'll go to the inside yet again to defend, and he's going to be side by side with us much earlier than he's been so far, and this is going to be a battle on the brakes here. We are slightly later on the brakes. We drift across so he doesn't get any ideas, and then he gets a slight switch back on the exit, but it doesn't look like he's got much traction on the inside there, so we have maintained that position. He's in the slipstream though, as we've seen a couple of times now. Is he going to get us into the second chicane? We're going to stick right, but I think he's too far back this time, so we move over back to the racing line, and brake still a little bit late into the second chicane really, and now cutting to lap 11. I think this is pretty much the opening of the one-stop strategy window, if you like, and taking the Lesmos reasonably nicely, both of them, and Boatman is still behind us. It was just sticking left to try and break the slipstream, select prime tyres, and put it into lean to maximise traction, which is quite poor now actually on these tyres. As you can see, there's a bit of drifting, and he's actually got a much better exit than us out of that corner, and so we put it in lean just to save fuel, because if he wants to go past, he's not going to make it around the outside of Parabolica. And now we brake into Parabolica, ready for another good exit. And at this point I thought I might see if I can dumming him to pitting here. So we move across and he's pitted. I don't know whether that was by himself or whether that can work, but I just thought it might be a bit of fun. And now we're on the outlap, and our tyres are very dead at this stage. My hope was that I'd have one lap fresher tyres later on in the race to see if I could maximise that advantage. I'm quite fearing the undercut here, because we didn't have much lead, so he might well be ahead of us, but I'm hoping on my fresher tyres. As you can see there, we're just squirming out of Parabolica. We might be able to get him back. If we come in for primes, Jared comes in behind us. I think it's a pretty standard one-stop strategy from everyone on the grid here. Yeah, as you can see, and put on prime tyres. We get held slightly there by the Mercedes, or the McLaren of King Rockham rather. But we do maintain position to Jared, which is important. We're going to put it into rich mix to try and maximise acceleration out of the pits. And Boseman is coming down the pit straight, and he is past us, so he's probably gained about a second on us there, which isn't great, but I think we can get that back. I have a feeling we might be faster in this last stint, if you like, and we're now behind him, putting it to standard, and now rich mix for the slipstream and the DRS. It's our turn to have the DRS this time. And we are closing nicely. Our tyres are freezing cold, which seems to be pretty standard around here. But we're closing nicely. He hasn't defended. We're going to stick it up the inside. We're not quite late enough on the brakes, but he has to give us room for the first part. We try and switch back, but he slows down a little bit on the second part, so it doesn't quite work. We stick it in standard to try and save fuel and just stick in the slipstream. We're probably not going to make a move into this second chicane rather, because you have to be pretty much alongside. So we just scare him, but he's very early on the brakes, so we have to kind of awkwardly go around the outside, but that was never really on, as we stick it in lean through the two Lesmos. Matt Mick at disconnects, which isn't great to see. The first one we take quite nicely, but Boseman takes better, and then, yeah. Yes, that happened. I think that's pretty much my first major mistake of the season, which isn't good. So we're now down to 4th position. We've lost an M-plate, and oh, and look, Goldfish and Jared are battling up ahead, and it looks like that must have been a lag incident. Goldfish, I can tell you, lost one M-plate in that, so he might be vulnerable, but we've also lost an M-plate, so I'm not sure how vulnerable he'll be. I can tell you that it's amazing how much the one end plate makes around here. The understeer felt absolutely horrendous now, and Goldfish is very early on the brakes, maybe sort of compensating for his lack of front wing end plate. We try and go for a switchback, we don't get any traction on the exit there. Let's have a look up at the inside of Lesmo. He's very slow around all of these corners, so he must be taking it conservatively. With quite a good policy really, and we get a good exit out of Lesmo too. Open the DRS. He doesn't look like he's really defending that. Squeezes to the inside, but it's too little too late, and we're going to be up the inside here. Brake a little bit late, run slightly wide, but Goldfish is now right on the back of us. We don't want to really give this position up, because I'm pretty confident that we're faster than him at this point in the race. We squeeze into the outside, give him almost exactly a car's width there by the looks of things, and he's never going to go out the outside of Parabolica. But as we know, the DRS and the slipstream are very powerful around here, so we are going to have to defend, I am sure. He's not very far behind us. Here he is, and he doesn't seem to have as much straight line speed as Boseman, so he might be running higher wings, but he is late on the brakes. We come off the brakes there just to squeeze him out of room, and he's got no luck there, but that has allowed Rockham right onto the back of him. We think Rockham is probably the slower driver at this point in the race, so we're going to give him the slipstream to see if we can get him past Goldfish, which would be helpful. And it looks like it's worked, because Rockham is now ahead on the inside, which is pretty much moved done, and it is. And we now closed up to Jared. I'm sorry, no, this isn't Jared, this is lapping Stiggy, who's having a pretty terrible race down in last position, a long way from his Hungary qualifying form. And we're now cut to lap 21, where we've gently been closing down Jared. and we've now got slipstream hitting 230 miles an hour, but we back out of that, we're too far back, and we get a nice switch back here, and we're in Jared's slipstream, and I can tell you in hindsight that Jared let us past here because he knew we were faster and wanted us to catch Boseman, which I didn't know at the time, but I kind of suspected, so cheers for that, Jared. And we now need to close down a fair old margin, about 5.5 seconds, there we go, to Boseman, and 3 laps later it's 2.5, so we are closing him down despite having one front end plate missing, but we cut onto the last lap, it's 1.6 seconds, people are crashing out all over the place, probably rage quitting, and I'm not sure it's going to be enough. We are on optimal fuel, so we have been saving fuel. Our one-stop strategy has worked. Our one-lap pressure tyres also seem to be working. It's kind of frustrating that we made that mistake and lost time overtaking cars, but fair play to Boseman. We've had a great battle in the first stint. He is, of course, the Season 1 champion, so you'd expect nothing less, but it's still good to have him back up front with his new controller, I think. And we are going to come around the final corner to take second position. One of the few times we've gone backwards from qualifying, which isn't great, but we do take home second position. Our championship rival and teammate Callum finishing 6th, so we are going to extend our lead to, I believe, 88 points or something quite comfortable. But thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you next time.